All right. Today we'll be talking about the roles, groups, and users concept. Okay. So far we have been discussing the foundation which is required for learning ServiceNow. What is that foundation? You need to know how this whole technology works, how this cloud platform is working. How do how do you get your PDI, personal developer instance, to get started with this technology called ServiceNow? And then we got to know what are the environments, how ServiceNow started its journey, and then what are the versions, what is update set, then what is the scope, and then UI navigation, everything we have seen. From today, actual class begins. For the past 3 days, we've been having that foundation very strongly so that you can build upon what we have already. Right? Today, we'll be talking about the ServiceNow User Administration. Okay. This ServiceNow User Administration is very crucial, either if you wanted to work as ServiceNow developer or ServiceNow administrator as well. This concept is very important irrespective of the position. If you know the ServiceNow technology, you should be doing this kind of user administration inside the instance. Now, today we'll be talking about this application. This user administration is an application menu inside the instance, under which there are three important concepts. The first one, which is users, second one, roles, third one, groups. As a system administrator, as a developer, you need to maintain users in the instance, you need to maintain roles, you need to maintain groups as well. Now, let me just take you to my instance. This is my instance. You need to go to this all application, navigator, left navigation pane, or else application navigator. Any name you can call it. Just type user administration. So this, just type user admin. You will be getting this application called user administration. Then try to make it as favorite. Then that will be available here. User administration. Now, under this application menu, whatever you see, everything is like a module. Everything is a module. In ServiceNow, what I've been telling you, ServiceNow is all about table-driven architecture. Table-driven architecture. Now, how you can relate it? An application menu is there, right? Application menu, under which you are seeing a lot of modules. Now, each module you can relate like a table. Relate like a table. Now, what is this table concept? Let me open the Excel sheet. This is an Excel sheet, right? Now, earlier we used to have this Excel sheet. We used to have this Excel sheet in order to store the data, right? When there was no database, we used to use this Excel sheet. There is a lot of dependency on this Excel sheet in order to store the data. How you can store the data inside this particular sheet? You will create a column like this. For example, if I wanted to store the employee data, I'll just put employee name, employee ID, employee address, and then maybe his salary details. Like this, I'll be having n number of columns. And then the data, I'll put it here. For example, employee 1, Ramesh, Rajesh, Rakesh, Lakshmi. Like this, I'll be entering the data. These details will be stored because there was no database concept earlier. Everything we used to manage using this Excel sheet. I can call this table, or I can call this sheet as employee sheet. Nowadays also there are a lot of organizations who manage their employee data or any kind of crucial data using sheets only. That's a different story. But when there was no database, the dependency of this storing the data is very higher on this Excel sheets. That means what? There was no option than this particular Excel sheet. Now, we've been hearing the word called database. Word called database. What is meant by database? What is a database? See, we have this Excel sheet, we can store the data, we can access the data. Then what is the need of database now? Any guesses? Why we need database?
I think it will store the data in the database.
We can store the data even using Excel sheets also, we can do the same, right? We can store the data. What is the specialty of this database? Why we need it? Anyways, we have Excel sheets, we can store the data, large volumes of data.
Like if you want to in Excel sheet, we can use the 50,000 1 lakh data. If you want, means we cannot go back and we cannot check in the Excel, right? In that scenario, I think database will be used.
Partially, in a way it is right, in a way it is wrong. Why? Because even in Excel sheets also we can put 1 lakh records. I've seen Excel sheets like 500 GB, 1 TB also. Yes, we can store the data. If you have 1 crore records also, we can store the data in Excel sheet. Then what is the specialty of database? For example, if you're talking about security, even security is there with the Excel sheet. We can hide the data. We can give the permissions to the data. Then what is the specialty of database over Excel sheets? The specialty is retrieving the data. You can still store the data whenever you wanted to retrieve the data from that Excel sheet and wanted to do this CRUD operations. Create, read, update, and then delete. Not only storing the data, but also we need to manage the data. That is important, right? Storing will not help you in any ways. We need to use the data. For example, after a few days, if any employee is relieving, any employee is making an exit, then we need to update the data, right? Or we need to remove that entry, right? Or else if any new employee is joining, I need to add one more row for him, right? Those are all called CRUD operation, database operation. Creation, reading, updation, and then deletion. This retrieving is very, very, very easy with the database. And then you can retrieve the data within fraction of seconds, not even 1 second, fraction of seconds. But if you use Excel sheets, you cannot retrieve the data that easily. That is the reason why the organizations are voting for this database than Excel sheets. If you wanted to do this kind of stuff, you can do that. For this, in order to do any database operation, what we need? We need a long ways called SQL, right? Structured query long ways, using which we will create the statements and then we will do the operations. How do you write SQL statement? For example, if you wanted to insert, create table name, and then you will insert column by column. If you wanted to update, and then there is one more statement you can use. If you wanted to delete, there is a syntax for delete. All this is possible using SQL, right? All this is possible using SQL. Since we are storing all this data, we are calling it as database. If you are storing a large number of users, then we can call it as user base. If you are storing customers, then customer base. See the terminology also. We are storing the data, we are calling it as database. Why database is needed again? There is a lot of easiness in retrieving the data, and then if you wanted to do this CRUD operation, that is very much feasible with this database, not with the Excel sheets. That's the reason why we are using database. Now, if I look at the database and if I look at my Excel sheet, both are looking similar. Not identical, both are looking similar. Why I'm telling this? See, if I go here, I just wanted to open incident table. If I wanted to open an incident table, the shortcut I would like to use is like incident.list. So this, how I'm using this shortcut. So this, if we use capital LIST after a table name, this is the syntax, or you can call it as a shortcut, table name dot capital LIST opens the browser tab, opens the table list view in a new tab. If you use incident.small.list, same thing will happen, opens this table list view, but not in a new tab, in the same tab. If you wanted to create a form, then incident.form, then same, opens in a new tab, but this is form, opens a form. These shortcuts you will be accustomed to going forward, but now I'm using incident.list. Then if I click enter, then see this incident table. This is my list. Incident is my table. These are all columns, number, open, short description, caller, and these are all my rows. Vertical ones are called columns, horizontal ones are called, all these are called records. When I look at my Excel sheet, now you see, same, right? Employee, here incidents, the name of the sheet, the name of the table. These are all columns, right? Employee name, employee ID, address, salary. These are also my columns. Number, open, short, these are my columns. If you look at 1, 2, 3 here, these are all my rows, right? See, these are also my rows. If I put my cursor here, see this B5, that means column B, row number 5, which is 104. This is my cell, right? Here also, if I place my cursor, this is my cell. Any questions? Can you please be on mute? All right. This is my cursor. See this? If I place my mouse here, this is my cell, right? This is also my cell. Now you understood this table concept is actually taken from Excel sheet. columns and rows. Now you tell me, what is database? Database is a collection of rows and columns. What you store? Store the data, whatever the data you want. Now, ServiceNow is all about this table-driven architecture. That means whatever the module that you are seeing, one module you can relate like a table. Now, if I go to my user administration now, back to the subject, I wanted to open this users. Control click, it will be opened in a new tab. Now you see, in the URL sys_user_list. That means my table list view is open. This is table. Database is all about a collection of huge number of tables, right? This is one of my tables. For example, if you open roles, this is my another table. See this sys_user_role. This is the name of the table. If you put _list in the URL, you will get the list view of your table. Similarly, if you click on groups, it is one more table, sysuser group. Sysuser group. Today we'll be talking about these three things. Sys_user is the backend name of your users table. Sys_user_role is backend name of your roles table. Sys_user_group is your groups table. If you wanted to open the list view, instead of going like this, instead of going to your application menu and opening the module, you can directly open like this. If you know the backend name of the table, sys_user.list, it will be opened automatically. Or else sys_user_role.list, your table list view will be opened automatically in a new tab. If I'm using capital LIST, it will be opened in a new tab. If I use small LIST, it is opening in the same tab. Got the idea? Any questions so far?
No, we are good.
Yeah, perfect. Now, why this is very, very important. Users, roles, and groups concept is why it is important. So let me talk about that, and then we will be creating those things. Now, users, and then groups, and then roles, right? These are the three concepts. Now, this is your instance. This is your instance, right? Now, you have a lot of applications, right? In the all application navigator, you have a lot of applications. See, these are all out of the box applications. For example, if you as a developer, you have developed 5 more applications. Those 5 more applications will also be available here, right? Now, if a user, for example, if I go to my user table, how many users are there? 626 users are there already. These users can access my system, right? Can access this instance. As a system administrator, how I'm accessing this instance? These guys will also be able to access my instance. But there is a difference in access. There is a difference in the access. That means what? Let me give you one analogy so that you can understand it in a better way. I'm working in an organization. I'm a manager, for example. Imagine I'm a manager in the organization. I have around 30 employees working under me. Now, out of these 30 employees, my favorite employees will also be there, right? For example, 10 employees. 10 employees are very much favorable. And then I like them. Basically, I like them. Okay, these 10 employees, out of these 30 employees, I like them. Then, what are the benefits that these 10 employees will get? For example, if I wanted to meet outside of my working hours, I can meet them, right? These guys will be having the access to meet me, right, outside. Other 20 don't have that access. Why? Because there is a connection. There is a connection happened, which is very positive. That's the reason why we are giving preference to these 10 employees. Now, if they wanted to meet me outside in my house, out of these 10 people, if anybody asks me, I can say, okay, you can meet me. Right. That means what I'm giving more privileges, right? More privileges to these people in order to meet me. Or if they wanted to get some knowledge on the project or anything, I can give. Right. The same scenario, for example, if I'm working in the what we call IRCTC, Indian Railways. If I'm an employee, I'm sitting in the counter. Basically, my job responsibility is to sell the tickets for my Indian Railways. Customers will be in the queue, right? For example, 50 customers or 50 passengers are waiting in the queue, and then they wanted to buy a ticket. Then what I'll do? I'll have to serve one by one, right? Okay. 50 passengers are standing in a queue. Out of those 50 passengers, 2 are my relatives. Imagine 2 persons in the queue who are standing are my relatives. Then they'll be having more privileges to get the ticket as soon as possible, right? They don't need to wait in the queue. I can give more privileges. Like maybe I can call them. For example, if that person, my relatives are standing at 30th and 40th position, I don't want them to be waited. I can simply ask where are you going, and then I can get the ticket, and then I collect the money later. That means for all 50 passengers, I cannot give privileges. But 2, since they are my relatives, I can give privileges, right? That is called access. That is called access. Or else, in the previous case, these 10 employees will be having more privileges, right? Like more permissions to get something done. That is what is called access. This access is topmost or the most for system administrator. System administrator. That means system administrator can access each and everything in the instance. Now, if any user is created here, if any user is created, I cannot make everyone as system administrator, right? Because maybe based on their role, based on their job, maybe system administrator access is not required for them. Maybe I can limit the access to a set of applications, That means what? I can restrict, I can still create an account. I can create an account with limited access. How can you make this limited access? This limited access can be given by using a concept called roles. That is what is the role. You are creating a username and password for a user, and you are giving your instance URL, they will be able to log in. But based on the roles, based on the permissions that they have, they can access in the instance. For example, if you have created one user, you have given the role called ITIL user, then they'll be able to access only a 5 or 6 application. That's it, nothing else. That my point here is you can restrict what your user can access. That is what is your role. A user means simply creating a user in your instance. That's it. Group means a set of people. A set of people. You already know what is meant by group. Self-explanatory. But role is the permissions or the access given to a user. By using this roles concept, you can limit the access to your instance. Today, we'll be seeing that. Okay. As an administrator, if you wanted to create a new account, in this instance, what you can do, you can simply go to this table called sys_user.list, and then you can click on this new. No complexity, just the configuration. That's it. Okay. See, when you open this, this is the list view. When you click on this new, a form will be open. This is the form. If you wanted to create user, you need to provide his details, right? That's the reason why ServiceNow is using the concept called form. We have only two views in ServiceNow. One is list view, other one is form view. This is form view, and then this is your list view. Now I'm going to create one user account. I'm creating first.user. The first name is first, last name is user. I'll set the user as developer, and then I'll give first.user@abc.com. Like that. I can give, let me save it. That means what I did, I have created an account for this first user. User ID is first.user. Now I need to set the password, right? Click on the set password. A temporary password will be generated. Generate, and then copy, and then save it. Paste it somewhere. This is the temporary password. What is the username? First.user. Right? Now, there is one concept here, see, passwords needs reset. This is very important. While creating any account in the ServiceNow, you need to check this box. Why it is needed? Because you are providing this temporary password. The user has to set his own password, right? That means you need to provide this password needs reset. Now, you have created account as an administrator and you are giving these details to the employee. Then, if they wanted to log in, what you need to provide? You need to provide the URL till this servicenow.com. This is the URL. These three details you need to provide: URL, username, password. How you log into your Facebook web application? You need to go to your Facebook URL and then giving username and password, right? The same thing. Now, what I wanted to do, user account is created. I would like to log in as a user now. This is my user ID and this is my password. This is my password. I would like to log in. Now you see, since you have checked this box, checkbox true, then user will be able to set his own password. He needs to enter the current password and then he can enter his own password. And again, the password that you're giving, that should be satisfying all these conditions. Submit. The user account is created. Now you see, if you observe, this is your account as an administrator. You will be able to access everything. See how many applications you can see. Now, this is first user. This is first user. If you go here, now you see only a few applications are available. See, self-service, taxonomy, and only a few applications are available for this first user. Why? because you have created the account, you haven't given any role. That's the reason why these pre-set up applications he will be able to access, nothing else. Now, if you go to his profile, you can see he will not be getting set password option like administrator. He will not be able to modify anything except the time zone and then date format. There are restrictions. But self-service application is available. As a user, he can do something. Now, go to the user that you created, scroll down. Now you go to the roles. See, there is no role added. There is no role added. Now, try to give the role called ITIL user. Just type ITIL here and then add this ITIL user. You need to check, you need to select and then you need to move it manually and then save it. Now, you see, 41 roles are added. How come? You have added only one role, ITIL role. But how other 40 roles are getting added? That concept is called parent-child roles. That means a role can contain another roles. ITIL role is having 40 child roles. That's the reason why along with that ITIL role, other 40 roles are getting added. Like see, SN change right, task editor, CMDB read, canvas user, all these are added. Okay, then save it. Now go to the user instance and then now you see if you go here, you will be able to access lot many applications. Let me just log out and then log in back. Then your session will be ended. He will be getting the access again. Okay. First start user. I'll be giving my password. And then when you go here, now you see how many applications are accessible. Earlier, I was able to access only 5 or 6 applications. Now, so many other applications. For example, if I wanted to access incident application, see, incident application is accessible. And then problem application is accessible. That means what you are doing? By giving a role, you are giving the permission access for a particular user to the applications. A role means what? Simply remember this, who can access what. This is what is a role. This is what is a role. How you are able to add roles? Go to the user account, scroll down. There is a roles tab. You need to give the role. Click on edit button. These are all out of the box roles created by ServiceNow. Based on that, you need to provide the roles. For example, if you wanted to create a new role, see this, there is a module, user admin. Click on roles. Your table will be open. These 481 are out of the box roles. If you wanted to create a new role, you can create new role. I'm just giving the random name. You can give your own role and then see this role, and then in the tab contains roles. If you wanted to provide child roles to your newly added role, you can provide. For example, I wanted to make these 10 roles or child roles. Then in future, whenever you add this new role to your user, all these other roles are also getting added. All these 10 other roles will also getting added because we are using the concept called parent versus child relationship. And then see applications with role. To which application you wanted to give the access. You are providing this new role. But what applications that user can access, that you can do that here. See this? You can select the category, administration probably. I'm giving test, then save it. Go back. That is added here. Similarly, you wanted to play with modules. Yes, module. And then custom tables, if any custom tables we haven't covered, slowly we will be covering. This is what is called roles concept. And this is what is called users concept. Understood? Users and roles. Any questions?
Understood.
Perfect. There is one more concept remaining, which is groups. Let me just open groups. If you wanted to create a group, that means a group means what? A set of members. I would like to create a new group. Click on new, first group. If you wanted to give group manager, you can give it and then save. Your group will be created. Now, when you create a group, what is there here? You can provide roles to the group. See, you can do either you can provide role to the user or you can provide role to the group. What is the difference? You can provide role to a user. You can also provide role to the group. Then what is the difference? ServiceNow is recommending as a best practice, always give roles to the group instead of a user. Why? Why is very important. Why? Because if I create a user, if I give the roles directly, maybe in future, if I wanted to remove him, then I need to go to his account. I need to remove all the roles given, right? For example, if this is happening for 1,000 users, 1,000 user records, I need to manually go, right? I need to do this for 1,000 users. If it is 1 user or 10 users, then that is fine. But in organization, they'll maintain lakhs of records for the employees. If it is for 10,000 users, that will be a huge task. It will take more time. That's the reason why instead of giving role to the user, we always need to give the role to the group. Why? If you give role to the group, and then add the members to that group, what you can do? You can simply go to the group, right? And then here, let me just add a few members, group members. I would like to add a few members to my group. This is the group, and these are my group members. 15 group members are there. Now, I would like to give a role called ITIL. The ITIL role I'm giving. Now, what is happening here? I have created the group. I have added the members. Whatever the role that I added, this role will be inherited by all of these 15 members. That means what? All these 15 members will be having this role. I no need to add the role, the single role 15 times for 15 users. My work is reduced, right? Instead of doing it manually one by one, in one shot, I can add the members, I can give the role. If it is for 100 members, I can give the role at once instead of giving the role to that 100 users manually. For example, if I wanted to remove any of the employee that is added here, if the employee is leaving the organization, how can I do that? How can I remove the access? I simply go here. I'll just select the user, make it from right bucket to the left bucket, move it from right to left, and then save it. Now, what will happen? That user will not be able to access the permissions which are associated with this role. Management is very easy right here. That is the reason why as a best practice, ServiceNow is recommending Always create a group, add members, and then add the roles to the group instead of directly adding roles to the user. But there are times you can directly give the roles to the user, but as a best practice, you always need to give the roles to the group. This is your interview question. The interview might ask you like, what is the best practice around the users, groups, and roles? At that time, you need to able to tell them that this is the best practice we can follow while doing the user administration. Got the idea, guys? Got the understanding of how users, roles, and groups are working inside the ServiceNow instance?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Okay. Now, today you need to do a very laborious task. The task 1, you need to create 10 users. Task 2, you need to create 10 groups. Task 3, you need to create 10 roles. Now, task 4, understand the difference between adding roles to a user versus to the group. That means you need to create group and then add the members and then give the role and then observe what is happening. The managing of the access, the roles, and then adding the members to the group and removing the members. All you need to do is like adding a member, you need to do that, removing, and then removing a role, and then adding a role. This comes under your task number 4. Okay, this is what is called user administration. Now, user administration, and then these are all self-explanatory. See, when you go to the departments, this is simply a table. See that CM1 department, it's a table having the data. Now, if you go to the locations, see this locations table, CM1 location table. This is the table where all the locations will be stored. All the locations will be stored. These are all self-explanatory. See, there is one more important module, that is time-limited user roles. This time-limited user roles concept was not there till Vancouver. This is coming with the latest release called Washington DC. What does this mean? Time-limited user roles means while creating, you will understand. Just provide role. I would like to give the role called probably this impersonator role. I'll select the user, any user, a belt shooter, start time and then end time. I'll give today and then tomorrow at the same time. Providing access to a belt shooter as impersonator for a day and then submit. Very self-explanatory. You don't want to give the role for n number of days. You just wanted to give the role for a certain period, starting time, ending time. Then you can give it automatically. Once this time is reached, this role will be revoked back from that user. That is an automation which has been recently added in the Washington DC. Like this kind of features you will be seeing in every release. That's the reason why you need to understand what is upgrade, what is patch, what is hotfix. We have already discussed, right? This is how you need to do the user administration as a system administrator in ServiceNow. Got it? Tomorrow we'll be continuing with the other administration tasks that you do inside the instance.